In the theater of our minds, negative thoughts often take center stage, casting a shadow over our potential and happiness. These uninvited guests have a way of infiltrating our thinking patterns, sowing doubt, and dampening our spirits. It is not always easy to remain positive. What we perceive externally is a reflection of the quality and conditioning of our mind. If we are angry, then we will find a reason to be angry about everything. If we are depressed, everything looks depressing, and so on. The whole world is a reflection of our minds. If we look inward, we see that thoughts come from an unknown source, a subconscious reservoir of tendencies. One of the major commentaries on the Patanjali Yoga Sutra, Vyasa, states that we have a store of tendencies or traces, which we, in the modern world, call the subconscious mind. The yogic term is samskaras. Samskaras are traces left in our minds by our past actions, including thought, word, and deed, especially if they are repeated again and again. These tendencies, or samskaras, are present in the mind, and they bubble up and become conscious thoughts. It is only at a later stage that we become aware of desire, annoyance, and agitation. Something that is bubbling up from within, which might not be caused by anything in the world outside or might be a reaction to something caused in the world, comes from within, from those tendencies. These tendencies become conscious thoughts at the level of the conscious mind. When it comes to the conscious mind, it is called vritti, which is a modification of the mind. It is like a little wave coming up on the lake. Here, the mind is like a lake, and thought is like a little wave on the lake. If you entertain this thought or let it stay on the surface of the mind long enough, it sinks back into the subconscious mind and becomes a tendency. If you act upon a thought by expressing it via action or speech, then it gets strengthened and sinks back again. It may seem to disappear from the mind after a while, but it may not disappear. It goes back into the storehouse of tendencies and strengthens existing ones or creates new ones. This cycle of tendency and thought goes on unceasingly day and night. Because of the way we led our lives, not carefully or mindfully, a lot of negative stuff has gone into our minds. We are so careful about what we eat. We would not go to a dumpster, put our hands in there, bring out food, and eat it. But we do that to our minds. We take things from the world indiscriminately. We dump things into the mind until it becomes a mental dumpster and is full of negativity. Normally, we don't do anything about it. When we boot a computer, it will start in default mode. Likewise, whatever is in mind bubbles up, we act on it, and we live. This is our life. But we can consciously change it. Yoga says we can consciously change our thoughts and, thereby, our tendencies. We do not have direct access to the storehouse of tendencies, but we do have direct access to thoughts. Therefore, as the thoughts, or vrittis, come to the conscious level, we become aware of them. Yoga says we can replace a negative thought with a positive thought before it becomes strong and an irresistible tendency. Because negative thought is still fresh and weak before we give it power by acting on it or starting to do things. These thoughts that come to mind at the initial stage can be replaced. A skilled yogi replaces negativities with positive thoughts. Thoughts of anger with thoughts of peace. Thoughts of jealousy with thoughts of happiness. And thoughts of depression with positive thoughts. So, you can replace this, and this is possible. If you replace a negative thought with a positive, instead of just letting it come up and express itself, you will dwell on a positive thought for some time, and that will sink back into the storehouse of tendencies. This weakens the negative thoughts and sets up new positive ones. Let us try to understand this process with the help of a Zen story. A student goes to a Zen teacher and complains that all sorts of negative thoughts come to mind while meditating. The teacher gave him a bowl with polished and smooth black and white stones and said, "Here is an empty bowl." Whenever a negative thought bubbles up in your mind in the calmness of meditation, take a black stone and put it in the empty bowl. If a positive thought comes, take a white stone and put it in the empty bowl, and go on practicing like this. The student did as he was told by his teacher. Initially, the empty bowl was soon filled with black stones and 1 or 2 white stones. But over time, as he watched, the white stones in the bowl slowly increased. One day, the bowl was mostly filled with white stones. This means that, slowly, we can reprogram and change our inner conditioning. The practice is to replace negative thoughts with positive ones. As we learn this process, we may realize that it is easier said than done. What helps and enables us to make these changes is a calm and meditative mind. If the mind is not meditative or quiet, negative thoughts may bubble up and take over before you know it. We have patterns of thinking. Most of the thoughts we have in a day are not new or different, they are the same kind of thoughts. So, it is important for us to become aware of our thought patterns. Put a little distance between yourself and your mind. According to Indian spiritual philosophy, Vedanta, we are not the mind. We are the knowers and witnesses of our minds. Just like the body is an instrument, the mind is also an instrument that functions. Thoughts come, stay, and disappear. The mind is an app or collection of apps. So, you can use it as you will. Normally, it seems that the mind has taken over because we have given it power. The way to take control of the mind is to first become calm, put a little psychological distance between yourself and the mind, and then try this process, replacing unwanted thought patterns with healthy thought patterns. At first, it will be a struggle and difficult, but worthwhile. Over time, it changes. The Gita says the mind alone is your worst enemy and your best friend. Uncontrolled mind is your worst enemy and controlled mind is your best friend. John Milton wrote in his poem Paradise Lost that, "The mind is its own place, and in itself can make a heaven of hell, a hell of heaven." The mind, by itself, can transform bad external circumstances into heaven just by its attitude and the way it reacts to the circumstances. No matter how good one's circumstances are, they can be transformed into hell by the mind if it is uncontrolled. The removal of negative thoughts is an ongoing journey that requires patience, practice, and unwavering dedication. It is a quest to uncover the radiant core of our being, free from the shackles of fear, doubt, and negativity. In this endeavor, we find that spirituality is not the rejection of the human experience but the transcendence of it, a realization that we are not our thoughts but the conscious awareness beyond them. As you continue on your journey to remove negative thoughts, may you find peace, happiness, and a deeper connection with your true self. Remember to share this video with your loved ones who may be in need of positivity. Stay positive, stay mindful, and keep growing.